Happy New Year. Greetings, Joneses. Welcome to the Morel Jones channel studio. And this is where I do my artwork and try to create things. And I wanted to do this because there was such a strong response to the last video about, I think everybody's clicking like because of the near-death experience. So this is going to be a little bit about that, which will give some context to my walking across the country and what that was all about. So a little bit of context. I lived at low-income housing here in Logansport for about 10 years, and I'm disabled. I have some major depressive disorder, male dyspareunia, and some other things that are challenging for me to communicate and get along with others well. But I think I was being harassed and mistreated there, but that really doesn't have anything to do with it. But I think it may have been with what led to what happened. They were remodeling the apartments, and I'd been in my same apartment for, like I said, 10 years. It needed painted and all that. So they moved me in, they remodeled it and moved me into a brand new one. And they say it would take 2 weeks or so. And then they move you back in your apartment, have a new stove, a new fridge, a new everything. And this happens sometimes, and so it was fine. So I boxed up all my stuff and moved it into the new apartment. And I got a bunch of food, and that was on December 16th, 2019, when I moved into the brand new apartment and had a brand new GE stove when I'd been cooking on a 1970 one for 10 years. And I didn't know it, but it was faulty, and it was giving me carbon monoxide poisoning. And I have a fear of microwaves. I've lost a lot of people to cancer, and I just somehow have related that to a microwave, so I don't get microwaves. So I cook everything in the oven, which is bad if you have a faulty stove. So for 16 days, from December 16th to December 31st, I was in this carbon monoxide apartment, and it was pretty high levels. Like the firemen, when they came, they said, "You can't be in here." They made everybody leave and everything. But anyway, I'd say on the 19th, I got SNAP benefits, which is like $40 for food stamps. And I went and got a bunch of food for the oven, like chicken strips, even hash browns for the oven in the morning. So I was cooking in that oven 3 times a day. And I'm lonely, so I have a tradition where I read A Christmas Carol as my family tradition of one, my family of one. And I'll read that as throughout the weeks, the week or days up to, I'll read it 2 or 3 times and watch the movie, and I just get really immersed into that spirit of giving, and that the old greedy evil dude at the end is still redeemable. That part of the story is something that really hits close to home to me. But because we're all redeemable, even up to the end, it seems like, in that story. And it's not religious so much, except where Tiny Tim is talking about, that's about the only religious part when they go to church. There's not really much Bible thumping in the whole story, but it's very moral and ethical and good humanities. I love that story. It is my favorite story. But anyway, at some point in all this, I started hallucinating heavily. And the story started like, I went up to Martin's on, like, I'm not sure what day it was, the 19th or so, or maybe it was New Year's Eve. And around then, 12/24/2019, I think it turned really cold. Like, it went from being muddy to frozen solid really fast. And when I was going out in the fresh air, I'd start to hallucinate and pass out. But for me, it was really trippy, and it was like taking a lot of acid or something. It was like really far out. I was almost, I don't want to say enjoying it, but I was seeing things. It wasn't real. It was wild. And I was going to Martin's, and there was a spirit trying to tell me not to go this way. There was some danger or something, and I shouldn't travel in that direction anymore. And I'm like, I walk this every day, and I couldn't touch them. And I was trying to touch them, and I fell onto my face, and then I woke up, and it must have been hours later, and I was froze to the ground, and my knuckles still split where they were frozen. Like they're splitting this year. They've always split, but it was weird. Like I had to get my face out of the grass. The grass was frozen to my face. Everything was frozen. And I went back to the apartment, cleaned myself up. I had a little bloody spot or whatever, and yeah, I was dealing with I was hungry, so I was trying to cook, and at the same time, I was having these weird visions. And then on Christmas Day, I cooked 3 big meals, and a knock came on my door, and it was just boom, 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 and it was like shaking, like they were knocking on my heart and my soul. It was like hitting me, and they said they were trying to save my soul from burning in hell. And I said, I'm a pagan, I don't believe in God, and just real hollow laughter. And he said, Hades is hell, or something like that. Is pagan or something, like they're like, hey, hell is pagan. And I'm like, uh-oh, and I start to see the smoke, and then I'm lying in bed and I can't get up, and I'm not afraid, but like I don't know if I left my body or whatever, but I think I was like walking, but I thought I was floating. But it felt like I saw my body still laying there in the bed, and I went with this spirit. It was like the dude in Joan of Arc that talks to her in her cell. It looked like that dude and sounded like that dude, like exactly like him. I don't know if that was just I think it's my mind made it all up. And all the Christmas Carol movies I was watching was playing into it too. And it basically, I think I went through judgment. Like, it didn't tell me like you're wrong, you're a bad person, you did this, you did that. It showed me everything I could have done that I didn't do. Like, it's hard to give the examples because it's so personal. But just declining to help someone when they need it. And it would go in depth, like show how it made them suffer. Just this little thing I could have handed them, $5, pushed them out of the snow, stopped someone's bleeding. In one instance, killed someone. And it's hard to explain. Because I've been through a lot and I've seen a lot, and it was all, I went through it all. But that was on New Year. That was on Christmas Day and Christmas Eve. All those played out. By leading up to New Year's Eve, I was into a Christmas Carol more, and I was going over to Walmart. And the people in Walmart, I'd go over there in a bad mood, and they would all look like pencil sketches. And there was like no life to them at all, and I just had apathy and no interest in anyone or anything. It was just I came, went and got my things and went home, and I was aware of how selfish and what I was like that paper sketch too. And then when I was in a good mood, the spirit of Christmas passed. Everybody had lights shining out of their face, out of their ears, out of their nose, out of their mouth, like it had, it was going every direction. They were beautiful. And I told the people at Walmart about it as it was happening. They all thought I was on drugs, but I was going through carbon monoxide poisoning. And the ghost of Christmas present, I think, was when it was good, everything was really shiny. Everybody was so golden. And that's how I would like to see everybody all the time, but I don't now. And the last day, New Year's Eve, the day before New Year's Eve, I had cooked a lot and went uptown and passed out. halfway between Walmart and I was like by B-dubs. And in my head, I saw 12 gold angels. They looked like spinning and dancing, and there was these songs, beautiful songs playing. And I'm seeing all these things, and people are driving by and yelling cuss words and tell me to get off the street, bum, all this stuff. And I was, I guess, dying from carbon monoxide poisoning. And there was the ghost of death or Christmas future, or whatever, however you want to say it, told me, in my vision, it was a really beautiful, the most beautiful angel I'd ever seen, or thing I'd ever seen. And she or he, it didn't really have a sex, kept telling me that, no, I would catch all the golden songs and have them. And they were like bees or something. They would try to get away from me, and it would make me let them go and say, you can only have one song. And then the next day is when I had to call the ambulance. I was cooking lunch and I passed out in the apartment and woke up on my face with my thumb dislocated. And it didn't really bother me so much. I just like put it back in, but I knew there was a problem. And my gecko, I don't want to bring her up, but I took Leia out of her cage. And some reason I felt like it wanted out of the cage, but when I took it out, it would like, and when it would jump, she jumped back in the cage, and she was like dying. So I went outside, and I had my phone, and somebody said something to me, and I ended up calling 911, and it said, my phone asked me, do you want to make an emergency call? And I said yes. And then I was in an ambulance. And in the ambulance, I'm going through like all this stuff in my past that I'd blocked out. And ever since, I've been on this journey. Like, that spirit told me I'd walk across the country, except it kind of lied. It said I would die in San Francisco at the Golden Gate Bridge, and I'd win the lottery and all this other stuff. It kind of told me a bunch of lies, but a lot of stuff, it seems to all have come true in a way. So that's where a lot of my struggle looking for God and this, I want to hear God and I don't hear anything. And I don't believe in God anymore. I think, I when I see evidence of it, I'll believe it, but I don't see any evidence of it. I don't, I've read the Bible 2 or 3 times. I don't read it anymore. I'm not going to prescribe to any more faith, But if I do, it only has a negative effect. Like horoscopes. I can get mad at people over listening to a horoscope, just like going to a sermon. If it's a mean sermon that day, the preacher, I'm mad at everything, like I don't need that kind of influence over people. I'm kind of petty. I hate to say that about myself, but I think that's why I'm so limited in all even with gifts and skills. I'm a very petty person. Any little slight and I go off in some stupid thing. But yeah, that's my near-death experience. The best I can remember it and describe it right now. I hope you all enjoy that story, and I'll try to make a shorter version.